Hey guys, Tim and Shana from Punk Rope, and we got a question the other day from one of our YouTube followers, Guido Franchetti, and Guido asks, can you make a video with some advice on how to progress in rope skipping? Awesome question, Guido. So we're going to try to tackle that today. And actually I'm just going to ask Shana, like, what are her goals for progressing her rope jumping? Anything special that you're working on?
It's hard. I'm working.
See, it's a hard question.
Yeah, I'm like rehabbing mild injuries.
Yeah, so there you go. So this is the thing about a question like how to progress.
How not to progress bunions.
You know, so the answer depends on where are you at now, what's your starting point, and what's your objective? Where do you want to go? So for Shana, she wants to feel good, she wants to be healthy, she's doing rehab. But for other people, they're trying to progress their endurance, or possibly their speed, or maybe their skill. Maybe they want to get into tricks. So Shana's going to show you a few different progressions, starting with the assumption that you're a complete beginner. So if you're a complete beginner, you just want to work on your jumping mechanics and your footwork. So getting into basic posture is going to be step one. We're going to go through this real fast, guys, but good posture, elbows in tight, soft ankles, knees, hips. Just learning how to jump and land, right? Take off and land in the same spot. We don't even have a rope at this point. From there, we want to work on our rope turning. So we'd grab a wrist trainer, which you can get from our shop, or you could fold your own rope in half. And we want to progress our wrist rotations, right? So wrist dexterity, wrist mobility. These are just the fundamentals of jump rope. From there, we want to nail our timing. So the idea that we turn first and jump second. Okay, so we've got a 8-ounce beginner's luck rope, which is a little bit easier for beginners to use in terms of developing their timing and their rhythm. So turning first, elbows initiate, jump second, turn, jump, turn, jump, right? Super basic. Okay, but again, all depending on where you're starting from and where you want to go. Now, from there, think about what's your objective. For a lot of people, it's unbroken jumps. Can I do 10 in a row? Can I do 20 in a row? We think 50 is a nice start. So Shana's going to get into it. Now we're not going to go for 50, but the idea that you can perform 50 jumps consecutively without missing with good form. If you have a balancing hop in there, which is that little hesitation, that little pause, we're going to want to eliminate that. And then once we eliminate that, there you go. We can move on to our 50.
I was wondering, how do you eliminate that?
Okay, so we're going to eliminate that by one turn, one jump.
Turning faster.
Exactly. Faster you turn, the more difficult it becomes to introduce that little extra hop. In fact, it becomes impossible. Okay? So think about, do you want to achieve a certain number of unbroken jumps? And that was just with the basic bounce. 50, 100, 200. Or do you want to go the time-based route and be able to jump for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10, 30, right? But never do the same step for a ridiculous amount of time, ridiculous being several minutes, because that's how we develop overuse injuries. Okay, so we're talking endurance at this point. We're talking either numbers of jumps or we're talking time. Being able to jump without fatigue or undue fatigue for a certain amount of time. Now you're going to want to introduce some swings.
Might mean breaking it up into intervals with very short rest.
Exactly, right? So as you are starting to approach your goals, there are going to be days where you fatigue, You may not hit the 5 minutes or the 10 minutes, but by introducing a side swing, you're going to be able to recover. It may take 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, then you can start jumping again. And as you get fitter, you'll be extending the length of the work intervals, reducing the length of the rest intervals until you're able to achieve your goal. What that goal is entirely up to you.
I think a good goal is always choosing when you stop.
Yes. In other words, you make the decision.
Instead of missing.
You're not going to miss, you're not going to collapse, but you say to yourself, I can jump well for 5 minutes, and then I choose to stop at that point. Okay? So that's one way to progress. Another way to progress is to either get faster or to jump with greater intensity. So with speed, it's going to all come down to turning mechanics, tight circles. In other words, how quickly can you rotate those wrists, and how quickly can you get off the ground, and how low can you keep those jumps. If you jump high, you're going to be jumping fairly slow.
And it hurts.
And it hurts. There's no two ways about it, guys. So the better your technique, the greater the potential for speed. And we would suggest that you do a 15-second speed test with a friend, timing you and counting your jumps. Whatever you can accomplish in 15 seconds, you multiply by 4. That's going to be your per minute speed. We'd love for you to aim for somewhere in the vicinity of 180 jumps in a minute. That may sound like an awful lot right now. It is a lot, but we think it's doable.
That's 45 in your 15 seconds.
45 in 15 seconds. World record pace is well over 300, just to give you some perspective. Okay, so that would be speed with, could be basic bounce, could be alternating footstep,
That's
could be
progression.
yes. So then, then we want to look at variations in steps, which gets into skill. So for most beginning jumpers, we start with the basic bounce. You jump off 2 feet, you land on 2 feet. And you can continue progressing with 2-footed jumps by introducing lateral movement. That would be your ski jump. You could introduce forward and backward movement. That's your bell jump. You could introduce rotation or a twist. Twist is a form of rotation. There are many different possibilities. You could turn the rope backwards. So these are all skill-based progressions. At a certain point, you're going to want to get a little bit more advanced, and you'll be alternating feet. So instead of landing on both feet at the same time, you'll be landing on one and then the next. And here you've got your alternating footstep as a good entry point. You have your scissors jump as a possibility. Right, you got your straddle jumps.
I never think, I thought those are still 2 feet leading at the same time.
That is true, but the legs are working independently. That is very different. That is absolutely true.
Threw my brain off.
Getting more advanced, you have your crosses, where now the arms get into the act. So the forearms are going to come together and the handles extend beyond the hips. So for some people this will be a nice coordination challenge, right? And then getting into the world of intensity, we could aim for some double unders, which would be 2 rotations for a single jump. So there's more power, there's more speed, more control. And with all of those, we can cycle back to what we talked about at the beginning, which would be endurance, right, or speed. So you could work on your crosses and aim for 50 unbroken crosses. You could work on your double unders and aim for 50 unbroken double unders, or any number that you deem worthy of achieving. And then likewise, you could work on speed. So now you have a skill, maybe a challenging skill like a double under, or a backwards cross, and there's, guys, obviously a bazillion steps that are much, much more complicated and advanced.
Although you didn't include the same criteria I did for our things, because we're moving along the rope jumping progression timeline. I think before you do crosses, although it's not compulsory, but to make it easier, you should have worked on
You should master your side swing. Yeah. Side swing, guys, is such a fundamental move. That's a key part of rope jumping success. And no matter what step you're working on, the side swing will be a very valuable addition. So
you need to be on the line. Stable.
yeah, so the line being where you take off from and where you land. So good body control, right? If we're bouncing all over the place, we're going to fatigue very quickly. So just to recap, I'd say first, realistically assess where you're at. If you're not sure where you're at, feel free to consult with us. And we have a new service where you can submit a video and we'll analyze it for you and let you know what we think. But do your best to think about, okay, where am I at right now? And then, where do you want to be, right? Do you want to be jumping for endurance? Is that going to make you happy? Is that going to help you fulfill your goals of becoming a fitter person? You know, 10 minutes of jumping straight up, maybe a little breaks for your side swing, but is that something you want to be able to do? Or are you thinking, you know what, my dream is to jump 200 times in a minute without messing up? Speed.
Good goal.
Okay, it's an awesome goal. Or you want to do tricks, you want to be a freestyle jumper, you want to do backflips, and you want to do push-ups with the rope, and you want to do burpees and all kinds of, you know, fun, fancy moves. That is another form of progression. So where you start at point A and where you want to go to point B is going to determine the steps that you take in between, and we can help you with that. We'd be happy to. Okay, guys, so just a few thoughts on progression, and thanks again to Guido for the question. We hope that was helpful, and we'll see you next time.